Good afternoon and welcome to On Brand from Muse by Clio. I'm Nicole Purcell, the president of Clio Awards. And in this series, we're going to take you into the homes of top brand marketers to see how they're faring during these crazy times. Before we bring out our guest, I'd like to introduce my co-host, editor-in-chief of Muse by Clio, Mr. Tim Nudd.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am wonderful. Just want to do a quick cheers from one of my favorite locations in the world, Sonoma County.
Lovely.
Arietta. What are you drinking?
Cheers. I have Maine Beer Company, which is
wonderful.
Just
and I was told if we cheers, sorry, that we have to take a drink.
Of course.
Who are we chatting with today?
So we have a really interesting guest today. We're going to be speaking with Lauren Weinberg. She's the global head of marketing at Square, which of course is the mobile payments company. Although they're a lot more than that, they really help small businesses do all sorts of things these days. And it should be really interesting to chat with Lauren because obviously small businesses are struggling. A lot of them are struggling in the environment that we're going through today. So interested to chat with her about that and all things Square. So let's say hello to Lauren Weinberg.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
So happy to be here.
So one of the first things I'm asking everybody, obviously, is working from home and where are you? Who are you living with? I know I always pull up my little extra co-host, Milo, who is sitting with me all the time. But how's it going working from home?
It's going okay. I'm in Los Altos, California. I am at home with my husband, my two boys who are 13 and 10. Okay. And I also have two very big dogs. So I am home quarantining with them.
Awesome. So one of the things that I keep saying, and I'm staying away from Zoom, which I feel like everyone's doing all their meetings on that. What are some of the platforms that are helping you keep engaged with your clients, with your teams that is helping you out? I mean, Zoom fatigue's a little for me, but anything else that you have been working with?
Not really. I mean, we use Google Hangouts, so that's been definitely like a lifeline for us. I feel like I've also been using House Party to connect with my friends and some of my friends, which I've never used before. So that's been really nice. And I've definitely connected with a lot of people that I was like talking to my friends from college every Friday for a while, which was really nice.
That's so cool. Something that you don't normally do. So isn't this interesting how that's bringing people more together?
Yeah.
Really cool.
Totally. So Lauren, I'd love to sort of chat with you about what you guys have been up to at Square lately. Obviously, it's such a difficult time for small businesses. I'm sort of curious, how you guys went about formulating a strategy, for how to speak to small businesses now that they're in such dire straits at this time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a little bit of a scramble in the beginning, but I would say, Square's brand purpose has always been around really empowering sellers to succeed on their own terms using our tools. And so I would say when COVID started, we really just went back to what should we be doing that would be most helpful to our sellers right now? But I would say our strategy didn't change that much. It was really just a question of what are the tactics and things that we put into place and what are the ways that we can be most helpful to small business owners right now. So it was definitely a bit of a scramble in terms of taking down messages that we thought would come across as tone deaf. And I would say in the early days of COVID, really spending a lot of time with our peers in comms and product, really talking about what is it that we're going to be doing to really support sellers right now. And a few things that we decided to do early on. The first includes instead of investing in a campaign to talk about how we're there for our small business owners, we decided to use that money to really provide actual relief to our sellers. And so we refunded their SaaS fees in March and April. And then we started really, I would say, the product team sprinting on actual solutions that we could put into their hands that we thought would really help them weather the storm. So for example, curbside pickup and delivery for retail and restaurants, creating a customer facing gift card directory so that people could support businesses in their community. And I would say our marketing strategy was really around showing up for sellers, supporting them, working on the communications, but then really making sure that sellers were aware of these things that we were working on to really help them during this time.
Okay. And we've heard a lot about sort of actions rather than ads lately. It sounds like that's definitely been kind of your approach in many ways.
Yeah.
So you guys have done a thing called seller audio stories. COVID. Would love to chat about that. We actually have one of those queued up that we could play.
Which I love this one, by the way.
Let's play that and we can talk about it after.
Okay.
We have managed to go 99 years of business without being online. Perhaps this was just the pressure that we needed to push us to be online. We were comfortable with business as usual, though we needed to be online years ago. And now here we are in the midst of another recession, in the midst of a pandemic. We are now online. We applied the pressure right back. That is important for business leaders and entrepreneurs to know, is to not panic. You are called as an entrepreneur to not panic. I know it's not easy, but you have to now be a leader. You cannot panic. While everybody else is panicking around you, your staff might be panicking. It is important as an entrepreneur to stay calm in the midst of a storm. That is what we're doing at Hot Sales. So we are faithful, we are hopeful, and we are trusting that we will be better after this. We will be stronger after this.
Lauren, can I just say really quick, I'm sorry, but I loved hearing that story when I first saw this, and being an entrepreneur, having a family business that I grew up with, and being in a small company now, like that story just hit me, and I want to hear that every day because it pushes me forward. It makes me say, okay, I'm going to go. And I really love it. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, we love these stories, and we have new ones coming out every week, exactly for that reason, because we see small business owners doing incredible things, adapting during this time, really rising to the challenge. They're so resilient and passionate and optimistic. And so we decided to share their stories to really inspire everybody else. I think it comes in waves, and some weeks are easier for some people depending on where they're located and harder for others. And we really want to use our sellers to let them tell the story of how they're adapting during this time. But I also would say that Lauren and Hot Sam's as a business is just an incredible story. They've been in Detroit for 100 years. And so they've been through so much. It's a family-run business and a legacy business that's been passed down over multiple generations. So it's really, really amazing to see even just like how far they've come since they started using Square, and the fact that they finally created their online store, which is something that they've wanted to do for a long time. So they're just incredible.
How do you find these stories and these people? Are they coming to you, or is it something that you guys, because you're promoting all over to small businesses? How do you find them?
So we try to use our sellers in a lot of the creative work that we do, just because we feel like coming from them directly is so much more authentic. And honestly, like their stories are so good that they're the best storytellers for our brand. For this particular campaign, we listed a number on our social feeds and said, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories. Give us a call. And so we did sort of put that out there a little bit, but I would say we have a very long list of businesses that we work with on multiple campaigns, from content to, big brand campaigns. So we are always really working very closely with small business owners that use our products, because we think that using their voice instead of hearing it from us directly, that's just one of our core brand principles. But honestly, I don't think we could say it better than how Lauren or other sellers say it.
Yeah, it seems like that kind of stuff, those stories, they offer as much emotional support as logistical support. But obviously logistical support is hugely important too. How do you guys balance that right now?
We're trying to do a combination of both. I would say, like, historically, Square has been very much in the camp of logistical support with a lot of storytelling around small business owners. But if you think about where our spend is concentrated, it's usually around talking about utility of our products. And I would say right now it's really a combination of these things, where we want to use our sellers' voices and their stories to just show everybody how resilient and amazing small business owners are, but also to inspire other folks. And then I would say on the paid side, we pivoted really quickly. This year, we were supposed to have we were literally weeks away from several huge campaign launches that all had to one was literally about to launch, I think the day before shelter in place went into effect. We just had to pull everything down and really say, what should we be saying right now? And so we did focus a lot on, these are the tools that we have that help you right now. And that combination of solutions is a little bit different than what we would have said prior to COVID. And so I would say we have a pretty, I would say, good balance of that right now. Historically, we've definitely leaned more heavily into the utility side of the business, but we do know that I think right now people are really needing both. Like they want to know the things that they can use that will be really helpful, but they also want to hear from other people who are doing amazing things in the face of all of these challenges. And so we're trying to deliver both.
Just quickly about the audio stories. I mean, obviously they would work great on social. Did you guys put them on podcasts or anything else like that?
So we are actually in the process right now of, I say we started with putting them on social, and we're actually working on a campaign concept right now that will really expand that concept to multiple channels, including TV. And so just really like elevating the way that we tell those stories. But I would say it started as a small experiment that's now expanding into more of a platform for us, just because we really love how it's going. And we think that we continue to get interest from small business owners, and they continue to really amaze us with their incredible stories of resilience.
Yeah, they're very emotional. They're very effective.
Besides, we have the pandemic obviously going on right now. Black Lives Matter is something else. And how is Square working with Black businesses, and how does that tie into the mission that you currently have?
I mean, our mission's really around empowering all sellers, and I would say what we're planning to do right now is really just give a bigger voice and a bigger stage for Black sellers that are in Square's community. So in our campaign, you'll see that we're featuring a lot of Black businesses and really focus on telling a lot of their stories as well, so giving more context and background around them. But I would say it's very much aligned with what we already do, really standing for economic empowerment. And I think we're just being more conscious about really making sure that we choose really wisely a nice representation of sellers and really elevate our Black sellers during this time.
Cool. Lauren, I'd love to go back to the recent history of the last couple of years of what the brand's been doing in terms of storytelling. And, at Muse, we covered one of your short films that was called Exit 12, which was a really amazing piece of work about an Iraq combat vet who came home and sort of dealt with his PTSD actually by embracing ballet of all things, which was such an unexpected and unique story. You've done many of these short films in the last couple of years, so we'd really love to hear from you, kind of how what you find valuable in long form storytelling.
I mean, I think it just allows us to go deeper, right? I think these audio stories are really great, but they're really quick. And I think I think the films allow us to explore really much more deeply the background stories of these, not only just the sellers, but also the community. So we had Exit 12, we had a series of other films. We did one called Forged in Flint. Mm-hmm. And that one is really like talking about just the whole community of Flint, Michigan, and the way that the small business owners are really going back and taking it upon themselves to rebuild that community. And I would say that we see this theme as a pretty emerging theme, where there are younger entrepreneurs that are either moving back to their hometown or moving to towns like Flint, Michigan, because they really want to be a part of rebuilding those communities. And so the films allow us to really dig a lot deeper into telling the background story and giving the context for just the background and the backdrop for these sellers and what they're trying to achieve. But we've been, I think, experimenting with lots of different storytelling mechanisms. And I would say it's only been accelerated during COVID through audio storytelling. We actually are in the process of launching our first ever podcast. So we're about to release our first few episodes where we can, again, really like go a little bit deeper with our sellers. We experimented with creating a magazine earlier this year called The Reader. So we're always looking for ways to really just give a bigger stage for the stories of the small business community.
Okay. I think we have the trailer for Forged in Flint that we'd love to show as well. Okay.
When people are covering stories on Flint, it's always negative.
If it's not the ghosts of the auto industry,
it's going to be the crime rate,
very high poverty rate,
murder capital,
economical downturn,
the flood water crisis,
the water crisis, and
the water.
Flint has a certain resilience that is not seen as much as it should be seen.
Yeah, the filmmaking on these is really wonderful, and the stories are really engaging. Could you tell us a little bit about sort of the engagement that you get with a piece like that?
Wow, I hear that the weather over there.
So it's a little much.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see like tons of people really coming to watch the films and movies, and I would say one thing that we're working towards is really integrating storytelling more into just everything that we do from a marketing standpoint, which I think you see through the audio stories because the films are amazing and incredible. And we definitely see good engagement from the communities. We tend to usually release them in the community that it's from. And it, depending on actually what's happening culturally, sometimes that really drives a big spike in increases of those films. But I would say one thing that we're definitely working towards is really integrating that kind of storytelling into some of our bigger brand campaign initiatives so that it just becomes like, it doesn't have to be the separate thing that lives on its own. And it becomes more inclusive of all of the work that we're doing.
And are you working with an in-house agency? Are you doing everything from inside? Are you working with creative agencies outside to help create these pieces?
We have an in-house creative team. We do outsource like bits and pieces of our work, but I would say predominantly we have an amazing in-house creative team that is very like long tenured Square employees on that team. And so a lot of the folks on that team have been with Square since the very beginning. And I would say have been really fundamental in building our brand. So we're so fortunate in that way that we have this amazing team that really lives and breathes the values of our brand and is very much, I would say, responsible for crafting the image of Square as we know it today.
That's great.
You go outside for production partners sometimes? Like I know Eve and Odd has done some work for you guys.
Yeah, we do. It depends on what we're doing, but yeah, we've worked with Eve and Odd. It depends on whether we have a lot of animation, but we do work with outside production partners from time to time. But our in-house team is basically responsible for all of the strategy and a lot of the execution.
Your career has been so interesting from a B2B side, working with data and analytics, but then coming to a marketing side with a consumer brand. How is that different and what made you kind of switch over?
So when I was at Yahoo was actually where I made that switch. So I was on the B2B side for most of my career, and I was at Yahoo, and then I started to straddle both worlds, B2B and consumer, when I was there. And it was really actually super fascinating to come from the B2B side of like an enterprise level company working on the consumer marketing. I felt like I just totally got to switch seats inside of like, instead of being the company that's working on the pitches, getting pitched to. And it was super fascinating. And also I feel like for me, that was when I realized like I love being on this side. And I think Square is actually a perfect hybrid. I would say like our customers are businesses, but they're small businesses. So it feels much more like the consumer side of the business. But I think once I made that leap at Yahoo, I felt like this side is super interesting. Like the whole media landscape is constantly evolving. It's really hard, I think, this job, but it's so interesting and I love it. And I think once I saw that side of the world, I decided to just completely move over in that direction and haven't gone back since.
I mean, it's interesting. You must have a pretty unique take on how data kind of drives creativity. We're always talking about the link between creativity and effectiveness and what that is. Could you sort of talk about how your data background kind of helps you evaluate storytelling from more of like maybe a metrics point of view or just through that data lens?
Yeah, I would say, Square, when I got to Square, most of our paid spend in marketing was really around performance marketing. And I would say the area where having a background in data analytics has been really helpful is I use data a lot to talk about how we needed to change the way we were doing marketing, that we had all of these products and solutions at Square, and we had been really marketing, like performance marketing around primarily like our payments product only. And so I would say, I think it was the background in data analytics that allowed me to structure like marketing experiments that show that investing in brand and awareness initiatives would actually start to drive growth overall. And I would say looking at a combination of short and long-term metrics. So we had a good set of metrics going into, like, we started to do some awareness and some brand marketing, and we see like our website traffic goes up and more people are searching, and this creates more efficiency in our performance marketing. And I'm a big believer in really talking about the full funnel marketing experience. I don't believe those things. I know some companies, it can be really separate. And I would say, like, we're actually working on making it really integrated and really integrating on the consumer experience as well, but looking at how brand and awareness really impact all of our lower funnel metrics. And Square is a very data-driven culture. And so I would say we really use that to make a business case for why we needed to do a better job of educating small businesses on all the solutions that we have, and talking about why consumers care about what a brand stands for and why it's important for brands to really show that side of themselves. So Square has always had that. It's an amazing culture that I felt from the first day I ever walked into the office. We don't talk about it very much, and we're just starting to really do that. I think we do beautiful stories that you can guess what we are all about, but we haven't really come out and said, this is what we stand for. And so I think that's something that you can start to see coming from Square, like in the next few months and into next year as well. But I think the data background really helped to just validate the need for that in our overall business. And then we did introduce some data and insights into how we think about creative, which was really interesting because I think at first we probably took it really too far in terms of interpreting all of the data and results super literally. And then after, discussing with our creative team, we said, it really is a combination of the data and the intuition. Whereas before we were 100% intuition, now we kind of have gone too far down to like interpreting the data quite literally. And I would say we've now come back to finding a very happy medium and a balance where we're very data informed about what we do. But I would say, like, we also really use intuition. And I think having a very long tenured creative team makes the intuition piece really easy because they know what works really well for our brand. They've been doing this for a long time, and they really, like I said, live and breathe the brand values.
So you really feel like the brand building stuff, you can point to metrics there that are really moving the business. I know a lot of brands they struggle to do that, right? Where they put out a piece of brand building content and they're like, well, is it moving product for us? Is it not moving product for us? So you feel like you're comfortable with branding's effectiveness on the bottom line.
Yes, in a holistic way. We can't get down to like that level of like really granular metrics for every single thing that we do, but we can see that when we have that type of marketing running, that we do see lots of efficiency in terms of our like lower funnel metrics, and we see all the signs. So I think we have a good set of metrics that say to us, people are understanding more about what we do. It's changing their search behavior. It's changing the way that they visit our site. And we try to measure things like as specifically as possible. When we put branded content into the world, we can see that they're engaged with that content. We can see that they're coming to our site. So I do think that we have as good of metrics as you can have in terms of being able to help really gauge whether these things are making an impact. And we try to think about it more as like holistically, is this helping drive our business forward rather than evaluating every single specific tactic? Because I think that's where it becomes really tricky.
Okay. But it sounds like you're a big believer in sort of creativity as a business driver and as a differentiator.
100%.
Can you at all predict the next 6 to 12 month strategy or see, I know with everything that's gone on, but having like that data side too is helpful. Does that help you look towards the future? And do you have anything new that's coming out that during this time has changed for you?
So I think it's so hard to predict the future right now. I would say a big part of what we typically do is say, we do a lot of like predictive modeling with data to really make assumptions around the value of customers that we acquire. Like that's all been thrown out the window essentially, because nothing about the way that consumer spending is happening to the way businesses are operating is the norm anymore. And so we have developed some new metrics that are a little bit more short term to help guide us. And so I would say, like, I don't know what will happen in the next 6 to 12 months. I've been surprised all along the way at both how people are adapting, how businesses are adapting. And I would say, like, I think have decent metrics, and we just are leaning into the trends and moving faster than we ever have. And so when we see something that looks like momentum and opportunity, we try to move as quickly as possible without absolutely breaking our creative team so that we can really take advantage of the moment that's happening. So I think early COVID was all around curbside pickup, delivery, and helping people operate while there was very strict shelter in place. As the country starts to reopen, we've completely pivoted to how do you take contactless payments and how do we make operating in a world that starts to reopen safer for small business owners. And so it's really hard to say whether we'll go back to shelter in place, whether we'll continue to reopen. But I would say one thing is for sure is that businesses will find a way to adapt. I mean, we see that everywhere, from restaurants becoming grocery providers. I could not buy flour during COVID for the first 3 months, and I literally ended up getting it from a local restaurant in my town when I went to pick up dinner one night. And so I was just seeing, and that restaurant was also selling toilet paper, by the way. So
very smart.
Yeah, so we see businesses doing all kinds of creative things to both help their communities and also to stay afloat. And so I think we'll continue to see that. And I would also say that, unfortunately, people have lost their jobs, they're at home. And I think that we'll actually see a whole slew of new small businesses pop up as a result of COVID and people being home during this time. So that's one thing that I'm excited to see, what kind of creativity will emerge from all of these entrepreneurs during this time. So I do expect to see more of that in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. Last question, Lauren, and it's kind of related. What are you most hopeful for personally or professionally as we sort of move through this difficult time?
I think 2 things. So I feel like probably like most people, my life was really chaotic and my kids were completely overscheduled. And it's been nice, I would say, to be able to do this job that I love, but also to be home for dinner. And I feel like having that balance is something that I hope will stick. And I'm optimistic that the whole world was sort of forced to make this drastic change overnight. And I'm a person that enjoys being in the office, but I would say I am hopeful that we'll have more of a balance and that everybody will get the chance to be really passionate and involved in a job that they love, but also be able to not make as many sacrifices at home. So that's one thing on the personal front that I'm definitely looking forward to. And I think professionally, I love Square. I love what we're doing. And so I would say I'm mostly excited to see how the small businesses really continue to adapt and evolve. And I'm excited about the work that we have coming up that really showcases their stories and the way that they're adapting and being successful during this time. So that's definitely something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and now feels like the perfect time for us to really just give them a bigger stage. So that's something that's coming up that we're excited about.
Well said. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing. And I know Square is a business, but I want to say thank you for helping the small businesses and the entrepreneurs. I grew up in it. We work in one. And I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. So thank you for your time again. And thank you for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to have the conversation with you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you. Tim, so great. Entrepreneurs, we're there all with them and small businesses.
I love seeing a data-driven company embrace storytelling as well. So cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. For daily coverage of creativity, please visit musebyclio.com and check back every Thursday for new episodes of On Brand, where we talk to top marketers all about creativity. Thanks for watching. Have a good Friday and a great weekend.